Alright, today what we're going to be talking about is getting started with your shading. And before you actually shade anything today, you're going to actually play around with some pencils and learn some things about pencils today. To begin with, on your paper, you can go ahead to the back of your paper where your handy facts are. Find a little bit of space, and what you're going to be doing is you're going to be making a line, and this is kind of what you're going to think of as your number line. To begin with, in the center, we're going to make a center on that. That's going to be kind of like your midpoint or like your zero. Next, what you're also going to be getting is there are tins, and your tins are the same exact thing as the bags, so it doesn't matter if you get a tin or a Ziploc bag. You and your table partner there are going to be sharing a bunch of pencils today. We're going to talk about the different kinds of pencils. To begin with, a regular pencil. So I'm going to start out with a regular pencil. In our ribbon shading project, I wanted you to have experience with shading with a regular pencil, and we did that. With this one, if you'll notice on the regular pencil, a lot of times they will have a number 2. So if you take a standardized test, they usually say go ahead and take out a number 2 pencil. So that's what I have here. If you'll notice, a lot of times there's also a couple of letters above that, and this says HB on here. The HB is the actual kind of drawing pencil it is, or it indicates the lead on here. So what I did is I drew a line, and I put a line in the center of that. I'm going to go ahead and write HB. That's the center of that is kind of like the midpoint. Next, what we have are lots of different pencils in here, and just to let you know, your pencil bags are not all going to be exactly the same, so don't worry if your neighbors have something that you don't have. So here's another one that's an HB. Let's take a look and see what else we have in here. Here's a very common one. Go ahead and see if you can find a 2H. So this one right here is a 2H. I'm going to go ahead and make another line right here across here. So this says this is a 2H, and we're going to put these in order, and once we get them in order, you're going to play around with them and see what they actually do. Alright, so I have a 2H. Let's see if I can find, oh, here, you know what? This one is an H. So this one right here says an H right there. So this actually goes in between the HB and the 2H here. I'm going to squeeze that guy in. I didn't know I was going to find him. Another one that we have is a 4H. So if I have a 4H, this works like a number line, like these are negative numbers. So we're going to go ahead with a 4H. Another one that I'm finding in here is a 7H. So this one is even further down on our number line. So I'm going to go ahead and write 7H on here. Okay, so now we have all of these. Now I'm going to go ahead and see if I can find any of the B's. So there are B's that are going to go on this side. And let's start off with, I have a 2B. I'm going to make another line here. Like a number line, not quite a number line. It's an art line. We do different things here in art class. So we have a 4B. Here we go. So here are all my different pencils. And what you should know is, once again, HB, this is the center. This is like this is like your 0. This is kind of like a neutral one right here in the center. Now, as you go up here, this gets darker and darker and darker. So these are, you can kind of think of them as not only darker, but like bolder. So think of like B for your bolder, stronger ones. And since they get darker, I'm going to go ahead and put a moon right there, so it kind of shows you that these get darker and darker as you work with them. Alright, so here's your center line again, the HB. Now let's go ahead, and these H's, these get lighter and lighter. And what you're going to do for this one, so this one, these get lighter and lighter. So I'm going to go ahead and add a sun in here. So here's your lightest ones, and here's your darker ones. Now you might be wondering, what is the advantage of actually using all of these different pencils? Why should I even bother with this? I can use a pencil pretty well. So here's your advantage. If you are someone who everything you do turns out light, and you're kind of, so everything you do, it turns out super, super light, and you had problems with your ribbon shading, or Mrs. Rao told you that you needed to get darker with things, but you just kind of really struggled with that, then it's going to be to your advantage to choose a darker pencil. Or if you wanted to shade something that is a really, really dark black of something, so let's say I wanted to shade a binder clip, it would be better for you to choose a dark pencil to shade this black in with. It's going to naturally be darker and just make it kind of easier and more believable for that shade. Now let's go ahead and imagine you are someone with your ribbon shading, everything you did was super, super dark. You were very heavy-handed with your shading. Everything was dark. It's going to be to your advantage to pick up one of the lighter pencils because you can't make these as dark. It's just not possible. So let's go ahead and take a look at what that kind of means. So what I'm going to do is, your next part of this is kind of like your scribble homework here. What you're going to do is, I have my HB, and I'm going to go ahead and take HB and kind of try to make that as dark as I can. So you can kind of scribble in on your little number line. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 2B, and once again, remember we did this on a worksheet where it was a big long rectangle. This is kind of the same thing that you're doing, but you're doing it with pencils and seeing the difference between the pencils. If you can tell, my HB and my 2B, not super, super different, but let's go ahead and check out that 4B. So I have my 4B here, and I'm going to take this, and what you'll notice is it's much bolder and much stronger and much darker, much darker, much quicker. So it really, really, if you're wanting some intensity, some darkness to this, your B is really going to make a big difference. Right, now that we've tried that, let's go ahead and go over to the other end and see what we can come up with. So I have my different pencils here. I have a 2H, I have a 7H. My 7H was in here somewhere. Oh, here's my H. I was looking for that guy too. Here's my 7H. All right, just kind of stalling there. All right, now I got them all. Let's go ahead with, I'm going to, once again, if you don't have all of these pencils, what I'm wanting you to have is at least 2 on this side and at least 2 on this side. So I want you to try out at least 4 to 6 pencils, depending on what you and your partner have. All right, so I have an H. So I'm going to go ahead and take my H, and what you'll notice pretty instantly is even no matter how hard you try, so I'm pressing pretty dark on this, I can't make that H go very dark at all. Now I'm going to go ahead and try my 2H. Once again, this is going to be to your advantage to whenever you start shading these. Whenever you start doing these, you're really going to see a difference with how these are going to react and how dark you can get things. So if I'm taking my 4H, this is going to be super, this is getting lighter and lighter. Even though I'm pressing harder, it's still not going to give me nearly as dark as this B is over here. So what I'd like you to do is to go ahead and make your pencil lines today, and go ahead and try some of the scribbling in. This is a value scale just like we did on your worksheet, but kind of experiment, make sure you label so that you know what your different pencils are capable of. All right, have fun with that.